It's Kristen, and I'm here today with a special guest who I think I've asked you to do this before, Darrin, but at first you didn't want to, but I wore you down.
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, this is Darrin, and what are you? I call you our shop guy, but Darrin just like keeps us up and running here, my husband's construction business, and basically we were drowning in junk and broken things in the barn, and Darrin got us all shipshape organized, and he does a lot of welding for us. So, but I think of you like not a nutty professor, you're I don't know, the inventor that can, if there's a problem, Darrin can fix it. So, but actually you're moving on for a while at least. He got called back out of retirement. Oh, that's the other thing we have to tell you about Darrin. He's actually a lot older than he looks. So he's actually retired and just, works for us when he wants to. But now, coming out of retirement. Going back to the pipe fitters.
Pipe Fitters Union.
Yeah.
For a year.
Yeah.
Because they're going to pay us.
Yeah, it's a really sweet gig that he's getting, so I don't blame him, but we're going to miss him desperately. But we'll still hang out. Now we get to hang out socially instead of just like at work or something.
Right.
But I wanted to show you guys. So he has built, do you want to tell us what you did, Darrin? Because this room, I don't know if you can see it, but he did all of this. What is this? Tell us what the black stuff is.
The walls, the walls were made of the concrete blankets that Bing uses, and so they're thermal, and then the rebar. This is all rebar here. You can see the pieces go up and they're bent, and I just created a wall out of them because they have a ton of rebar here, and then just draped that over it, and then created this frame out of all the wood that was laying around. And so we can get the forklift in here, and this cover comes down, and then door shuts, and it's all.
Oh yeah, show him your door. I love this door.
The door is just,
It's made out of styrofoam.
Styrofoam that was laying around.
Show him what's the handle?
It's a magnet.
Yep.
So this is just like tape that you guys had here from when you did your sheet metal for your furnace. There's a magnet in there. Keeps
it shut. Yeah. And then you even have ventilation. You have fans.
The fan, you gotta get the smoke out.
Because he does a lot of welding in here. So he rigged up fans. He's got, I don't know. It's just a cool man cave out here, really.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. Yeah, we can.
I don't know what goes on out here, but you men will appreciate it. So let's see if we can get this back in frame. Okay, so Darrin is just one of the most interesting persons you'll ever meet. He's the kind of guy that you could start talking to him and he just has stories about everything and your life. I feel like your life is so much more interesting than mine. When I talk to you, I just think, wow, I haven't really lived. So anyway, but also I think your faith journey is interesting. And so can you tell us a little bit about, I know you haven't always been a Christian. So what was life like prior to that, and how did you?
My family wasn't raised in any kind of church setting. So we just, I remember my dad saying, you don't need to go to church to believe in God. And that's about all I remembered.
Did he believe in God?
I think so. Like every Christmas he'd read a little from the Bible.
Oh, wow.
A couple times I remember that. Maybe once or twice, really. But and I was just, I don't know if you even knew what he was reading or how he selected what he read. Couldn't tell you what it was.
So that he had a Bible. Did you ever see the Bible lying around, or it just came out those couple times and then it went away?
I think now that I think about it, it was in this like an end table type thing that had doors that opened up, and it was just tucked in there. So you had to, that's where it was.
And same with your mom, it wasn't something that came up normally?
No.
So did you
never
believe in God, or did you think it was just kind of like a story or a...
I just...
Or you didn't think about it?
Yeah, I didn't really even think about it. I didn't think about, I was just out playing as a child,
You were just out there breaking into the Coliseum and...
later on, you know, but not,
Yeah, not yet.
Early years, if you're talking about early years as a child,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my dad broke the Bible out when I was 15 or 14. He may have done that when I was like 8.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Thinking there was a chance or something, you know?
Now that I've said that, you have to explain though, so that I said you broke into the Coliseum, so we can't leave them hanging or they're going to wonder what kind of a hooligan you really are. But this is a story that Darrin was telling me just the other day, and it cracked me up so much.
But which one was it?
Well, you said that you you wanted to go to all these concerts at the Coliseum, and the tickets, you didn't have money for tickets, and you had all these different methods.
Yeah, it was in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And that Coliseum.
The Coliseum is in our town. It's like where all the big shows are. Thousands of people can fit there. Big venue. Yeah,
there's a hockey team that plays there.
Yeah.
And then basketball. So, we wouldn't break in. Mm-hmm. We would just walk in. And we would unlock a bunch of windows. Beforehand.
And how did you do that? Like, did you just walked in during the day?
Yeah, the building was huge. You could go in to buy tickets for any kind of thing. And we would just walk on in.
Yeah.
You know, this is like 1983 or 4 or something, you know, even 82-ish. But anyhow, we would, walk in there.
And then you would prop some windows open in a room?
Yeah, they were the kind of windows that you turn the handle and you push the window out and the whole thing tips out. Mm-hmm. And so we would push it out and then relock it and pull it shut. Mm-hmm. So it looked like it was locked.
Right.
If you looked in the room and you saw one standing up, you'd know, well, that window, and then the custodian would go close it, lock it. Right. So we learned that, and then later that night, we would go to that window from the outside and just jump in, and then that room was a room like where they stored the basketball floor. Uh-huh. And when they would go from hockey to basketball, they would cover the ice. Right. That's where we would jump through. That was one of them.
So how many concerts did you?
Gosh, every one of them. Even Kenny Rogers and Tina Turner. People we didn't, like. We would just go in because we could, walk around, check it out for a little, and then leave. Before it even really started, a lot of times.
Didn't you say your mom kind of knew you were doing this?
Yeah, she knew. She didn't care. Yeah. She didn't seem to care at all that we were doing that, Because we didn't break in, we didn't break anything, we didn't steal. We just went to the show for free.
Yeah.
And
which some people would call stealing, but
they would call it, it's the angle you look at it from.
Right.
But we would end up.
And broke and
having
fun. There's worse things you could do,
Sure.
So, but then one time, like, how did you almost got caught, kind of put an end to it. Weren't you saying, like, a whole bunch of people ended up trying to sneak in after you and they got...
Yeah, there was one I found a window that when they built the building, this window went into a stairwell. And so then I went inside there and there was sheet metal covering where the glass would go. Yeah. And the handle was there and all of it was there. It just didn't work. And it was sheet metal was screwed to the frame. And so I just went in there and I screwed hinges onto it, took all the screws out, and now it was a swinging door. You see what I mean?
This is like, but this took forethought. Like, you had to bring tools in in order to do this. Like, you had to plan. It feels...
Yeah, right, I know.
It feels like it's becoming more criminal,
It really probably was. I'm sure it falls in that category.
I'm surprised you didn't turn into like a bank robber or something.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. So you got the hinges on it and you...
then a whole bunch of people went through it and it just wasn't as secure as it could have been. Oh. And because the top hinge had to be just wedged in between the top of the frame and the block. Uh-huh. And so I had wedged wood in there and everything, and it held a big long hinge, but just people knocked it off, and somebody found it. And they came in and they put a piece of sheet metal over the entire thing, caulked it in, and there was no going through that way anymore.
Wow.
But that was long.
But you never got busted or anything.
No, never.
Wow, that's just good old fashioned teenage fun.
Yeah, go in there. We would go in at night during the week when nothing was going on, because we'd always have a window open. Mm-hmm. I mean, then we'd just leave windows open then, all over the building. And it's a Wednesday, and you'd go in there, and it'd be like after school. And I remember me and my one buddy would go in there and get the golf carts, because there's golf carts all over, and there's nobody in there. And we'd be racing
through the Coliseum like 9 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, school night. Oh, my parents never knew. But that was so much because we didn't have any money, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine having no money, but look at that. You've got like your own go-kart track.
You know what my
Indoor.
friends and I used to do? It's a lot different than what you used to do. But we would, actually this was my idea. I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but you know, back when I was a kid, you would like TP people, you know, like toilet paper their house or whatever. But my friends and I came up with this thing that I called ticking. And we would get a really big bolt, and I got some string and some tape, like duct tape, and we would sneak up to one of our friends' houses usually, and the string was tied around the bolt, and then I would tape a little bit of the string onto the window, and then we would drag that string all the way across the street and hide behind a bush, and then we would just start like pulling on the string, and it would make that bolt like bang on the window, and then it would like drive them crazy. Usually it was their parents, you know, that would like come running out of the house and looking, and then they'd go back in and they'd come out and they'd start like yelling into the air. And one time, I don't know why we decided to do this, but we decided to do it to this random person, like a teenage kid that was working at CVS. And so he was like behind the counter, and we put it on the window behind the counter and started doing it. And he kept coming out and going back in and coming back out and going back in. And the last time he came out, and he like screamed into the air, like, "Why are you doing this to me?" And we actually felt so bad about it because he like was really like scared and disturbed, and I don't think we ever did it anymore after that.
Did you tell him?
No, we didn't tell him. We just left it and went home. We didn't even know the poor guy.
That was a good one though.
Yeah. So,
That was very creative.
Yes. My dad is a jerry rigger, so.
Did he know you did it?
No, I never told him. I was afraid I'd get in trouble. He'd probably be proud of me now. So. Okay, so back to your growing up years. So, what happened after high school?
Army. 3 years of Army.
What made you do that?
I had to do something. I wasn't really, there was no direction.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to college. I couldn't stand school.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine went in the Army, and I was like, I'm going to go do that. So I went in the infantry.
Wow.
I think that was really the first place, if you think about it. I went to church because in basic training, you're allowed to go to church on Sunday. Back then, I don't know what it's like now, but they had to let you go, and the buses would pull up, and it'd be like, this bus is going to the Catholic church, this one's going to the Baptist, this one's going to the whatever, and it was.
And if you didn't go, you just had to
stay back, and they'd work you.
Oh,
so you
it's
went.
better to go. Okay.
Yes, and they had cookies too. So you went, and anyhow, they. I remember the one guy, this one friend of mine. He said, "You going?" I said, "Yeah, I guess." I mean. And we found out if you don't go, you got to work. So he's like, I went with him. And I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't Catholic, but I don't, But there were also phones there. There was a giant, about the size of this room, concrete pad with payphones all the way around it and a few in the middle. And they just get swarmed with people because there's no phones. It's like 1986.
Wow.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could call people, anyone. Everyone would get a phone card, or there was a number you could type in. Remember that?
So did you actually go in and listen to the message, or were you just hanging out in the lobby talking on the phone?
The first time I think we did, because you don't know if you're going to get in trouble, or they're going to come in and go, "You guys here?"
Right.
When they don't.
Right.
And so then, after that, we would just go straight to the payphone.
Yeah.
Never went back.
Yeah.
You'd go get a cookie, I think.
Right.
But it was like a nice break.
Yeah.
Then you just had to get back on one of the buses that it was just do a loop. And you just had to get on one of them by a certain time. So you could stay gone for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
Which is like a huge amount
Big
of time.
deal back then.
Oh yeah. When you're in basic.
So did you enjoy your stint in the Army?
Yeah.
What, you didn't think about re-enlisting?
No. Nope. It was no.
Just no.
There's really no pay there. The pay is low. And so you say,
But did it make you think about, what you did want to do? You said before you went to the Army, you didn't necessarily have like a direction.
Yeah.
So you came out of the Army, at least you knew, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. I could check that off.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing that.
And then did you go straight to work for the union?
Yeah, I think I did. One job in between. I got like a job at a temporary service where they get you a job, you know, because I just got out. I didn't really have any plan of doing any. I didn't have any idea still. Yeah. You know, and then I got this one job, and I worked there like 3 days, and then you got to work Saturday. There's a whole bunch of us that worked, and then by Saturday they cut everybody except me and these other two guys, and we were the pick of the group, you know, and the rest of them was just used for those few days, and it was. I don't know if it was time and a half. It was better to work Saturday, but I was just like, I'm not doing this. I was in a warehouse, pull this pallet around and load stuff. It just was like, and I told the lady I was quitting. I remember she said, "Why are you quitting?" I'm saying, "I don't want to do this." She said, "Well," I said, "No," you know, because 3 years I couldn't quit. You know, that's what really. If you can't get in a position where you can't quit something, that really.
Were you living at home during this time? So you didn't necessarily have a bunch of bills yet. So.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no bills, and I had money saved up, and I was in no hurry, and I wasn't doing that. But then after that, went right in the trade. My friend's dad had a company, and that's basically how I got in. You know, they hired me, and so then I went through their apprenticeship through the union, and you know, 35 years later, here we are.
Okay, but one really unique thing about you is, well, you know how people always think like, what if we just didn't worry about all the conventional norms and didn't try to earn all this money and have a fancy house and all that. I mean, you got to a point where you left all that behind, right? And went to the health food shop and just basically worked for food.
Sure.
You know, at this point you weren't married yet, but I like that aspect of your story as well, how you just
dropped out of the trade.
Dropped out of everything.
Right, yeah. He's like, I don't end up doing any of this anymore. I dropped out of the trade. And
how many years was it after you had been in the union that you decided to
drop out?
And what made you do that?
I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
Just completely burnt out.
Yeah.
You know? And I just couldn't see myself grinding back in there. You know what I mean? Going back in and grind. Didn't have children. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes everybody keep going back in. Yeah. And so, and I really just was burnt out of that. And so, I ended up at I ended up at the downtown deli where Amy had her little restaurant, and I did volunteer there.
You were just volunteering. You weren't even working for food.
Yeah.
Like, what were you doing there?
Just cleaning up people's trays. You know, when they got done eating the tray and their trash. And
you just walk in and say, "Hey, can I start cleaning up here for you for free?"
I said, I work here, volunteer if you give me food, a sandwich or something like that. Or I think I just told her if you needed any help. She's my friend from the health food store. Okay. And so she used to work there and branched out on her own. It was more of a support local thing. I always ate there, paid for food there, Yeah. But I said, if you ever need any help. And so when I helped, then you eat for free.
And at this point, you didn't have a job. Like, you had quit. No, so you were just free. Yeah. You had enough money saved. You had a house.
Right. It was the middle of summer, too, and I'm done.
Wow.
And
how did that feel?
Felt great.
You just got up every morning whenever you wanted to and did whatever you wanted to? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Did you worry about the future, or?
No.
Wow.
No, I ended up, that's when I was really starting to, I really got into the Bible, and I remember God said, "You can feed the birds and the animals, He can always feed you." And so I was like, I knew God would always feed me.
So did you start reading the Bible before you left the union?
Yeah. Several years before, like 7 years before.
Well, how did that happen?
Did I get in the church?
What made you start reading the Bible, or?
Well, then so I had a girlfriend who went to church, and that's when I started. I followed her in there.
What kind of church was it?
Missionary church. Okay. So, but really, just the guy's down to earth. He was a grade school teacher, and that Dave DeSalm, who he is. Yeah, you could just really. I was like, gosh, this guy's a preacher. Because I had no interest. I had no. What I pictured a church was what I saw in basic training. that whatever we were in, it was probably a Baptist church. Nothing against Baptist churches, but it just had the standard and the pews and the. So I don't even know what kind of church it was, but this one was like, look at this. Harleys were outside. People came on Harleys, and it was summertime. I remember it was like, look at this. The guy could tell a great story, and so, I continued to go there for all those years, and 7 years had went by, and that's when I quit going in the trade.
So at the end of 7 years, did you like really believe it all? Like, did you go from not really knowing about God? I mean, I know you had some Bible stories a couple times as a kid, but you said you never thought about it. But then you started thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you're reading your Bible.
Yeah.
How were you feeling about God at the end of that?
By the time the 7 years was up, then I fully believed, and I was, witness to people and ingest as much as I could ingest. 7-8 hours a day I would ingest the Bible.
That's the thing you have to know about Darrin. Like, you really love people, and you're very. He's not afraid to just walk up to anybody and start a conversation or talk to them about anything. In fact, I think it's kind of what you thrive off of.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do really.
So.
Yeah.
You don't really have that fear of rejection, or they're going to think I'm crazy. Like that, you don't really care. If they think you're crazy, it's like, well. Oh, wow.
I used to say I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I do care. I think we all care what people think about us, but I'm not concerned if you don't like me for that or whatever. You know what I mean? Not going to be a concern, but I care if someone likes me. You want to be liked, But
you don't. You never think, I'm just not going to talk about this because they might not like me if I do.
Oh, I mean, if I just walk up to a rando person, kind of just depends on what we talk about. It's based on what's happening right then.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up preterism to somebody in line at Target.
Okay. Okay.
Unless they have a predator shirt on.
But somehow you always find a way to,
Yeah, you're right. Somehow.
Touch on controversial topics with anyone.
Yeah. I can kind of feel it out anymore and feel a person out and see that they're.
True.
Yeah, probably they're not going to.
You're good at reading people.
Maybe better now than I was. I'm not saying I know for sure I've brought things up to people and it was the wrong thing to the wrong person. Especially with the preterism thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really bring it up too much anymore unless someone, you get to that point.
Yeah.
But some people, and I'm sure everyone that sees this will be like, knows that people get mad.
Yes.
Very mad.
Right.
And it's like, whoa.
Well, you're the only person. Darrin is the only person ever that I ever told about preterism, and he didn't get mad initially. Nice. He just accepted it. Like.
Yeah. It made more sense.
How did you came over one night, and I think Bing and I said, we have something we want to talk to you and his wife about, and they said, okay, and so I think I gave like a 5-minute presentation, and you just said, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the truth of it is, and it was right before I started here, like 2 or 3 years ago. So it's been like 3 years, I think, hasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
But in between 2 and 3, but the, having going over, because after I got
there was COVID, and I don't know if some people, like, that affected them because they thought COVID was the sign of the end times, and a lot of people were living with unease during that time.
Sure.
I don't know if that affected you, but.
No, we didn't even participate in all that. Remember?
Yeah.
We did like you did.
Right.
We didn't wear the mask. We didn't do anything.
Right.
But the thing is, as I got into church, I remember it was the end times that was the fascinating. 2 things. The end times was like, whoa, because not knowing anything. I'm 36 and I go into the Bible and you didn't know anything.
Right.
And then it's the end times and giants. Yeah. I'm like, giants. Yeah. And I didn't know because I didn't know anything. And so, and I remember David Jeremiah was doing a series, and I was going on Daniel. First time I'd ever heard Daniel, and I was just starting a job. I was running a job, and it was about a 45-minute drive, so it was enough to hear the sermon every morning.
Okay.
And so, and I was there for 4 or 5 months, and you know how long and drawn out he can drag something out.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's amazing. You know, the first book you go and listen to,
right.
Daniel.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking, I don't have any idea what that even means. Daniel, okay,
Yeah.
Daniel, who's this dude?
Yeah.
You know, is this one of Jesus' buddies?
Huh.
I had no
Wow.
idea. And
Yeah.
so, but then it was like an opening to, oh, this end is like right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And here's all the reasons. And so I'm a puzzle person, like you said,
Yeah.
like an innovative. I can look at a pile of junk and see, look at that, there's a thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started going after trying to figure out, well, we should be able to narrow this down.
Right.
It gives me something to really challenge my mind and all that. By the time you came around with preterism, I'd already kind of given up and was
really?
dropping off. Yeah, because it's like, this don't make
too
any sense.
complicated. You could never get an answer.
It's just not making any sense.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? There's too many things that are lining up like this. You got segments of things that line up and other things that don't. Then you realize that those, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that didn't line up.
Did you feel like David Jeremiah or other people you were learning from, did you think by the end, like, they don't know what they're talking about, or did you think they're just so much smarter than me, like, I can't understand it? Because they the way they talk, it's like they act like they're giving you answers, and like, this makes sense, but you were experiencing that it wasn't making sense for you. So did you feel like they were wrong or you were wrong?
Well, it's, I was like, they were wrong.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Because I'd listened to everybody, J.R. Church,
okay.
Chuck Missler. I mean, we're talking countless hours.
Yeah.
Of the solutions to the puzzle is here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I need to just ingest more from all the different people, and I listened to other sermons of, variety of parts of the Bible that weren't talking about the end times, but, and I loved all those preachers too, but gosh, when they really, you get right down to it, and then it was like, one was the rapture. I remember thinking, and I knew all the parts, I probably forgot more than I remember now, but as in the times of Noah, so it would be in the times of the return of the Son of Man. And it's like, well, in Noah's time, what was going on? That's where they would go. Well, they, and it was business as usual, but it was like Noah. So this is the rapture. Remember, this is when they're trying to explain it. It's like, well, Noah was the righteous one, and his group was left.
Right.
You see what I mean? And it's like, this is backwards here. And I remember certain things like that just stood out, and I was like, well, I can't get stuck on that right now. There's a ton of stuff here. But there's little things like that that those are sprinkled throughout. And into the deep end of what that said about the end times, I knew all the terminology. Right. Or I knew a bunch of it. Yeah. And then you connected it all by saying the preterist stuff and saying it's already happened. And it was just like, well, of course. And then you start to think about all of the lying. Everything's a lie. Yeah. Pretty much. Why wouldn't this be? You see? Right. And then it really makes more sense the further you go into it. Then, of course, I would go into that. I went into preterism as deep and hard as I did the end times. Right. Well, that's something else you should know about Darrin. If he gets interested in something, he's going to pursue it. Yeah, I want to see all the stuff. Yeah, you're not just going to go to the surface level. You're going to dig deep. And both sides. Yeah. The group that's saying no way. I want to see what they got to say too, because you have to. Right. So, but yeah, that just all made sense. And then the whole thing that really made it mix. Why would they lie about that? What's the significance? Right. If they know, someone has to know, right? Yeah. Someone with some authority way up here in some manner knows Jesus already returned. Yeah. And what do you think? Is that, Well, we know. There's lots of people that know, but you mean people that are preaching that he hasn't returned actually know that he has. Well, not necessarily the preachers, because maybe they still believe it. Okay, so maybe you're talking about some elite group above them, if there is a group. Would they know, or are we the only ones that figured it out, and all these other scholars just haven't figured it out yet? Right. Or is there a benefit to being on this side of Jesus' return? He hasn't returned yet. For them? For benefit for them, yes. Yeah, right. Because of the tithing, number one. Because I think it was David Curtis was said, once Jesus' return happened, wasn't there, all that went away, right? So the tithing goes away.
Right, because there's no more temple to bring your gifts to.
Right.
You know, there's no more priests to
And
give your tithe to.
Yeah, wasn't the tithe like there was only like 3 of them? You can't, harvest the corn on the corners. Remember this?
Okay.
And then there was the tithe to the Levites.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then there was one more. What was the other one?
I don't know. It says something about tithing your mint. You tithe your mint and your dill, but you neglect the poor and the needy or something. So I guess they had to tithe even of their crops.
It might have been just the feast tithings.
Okay.
But he said it. I watched the video. I remember. I still watched it several times. But it's like all that goes away.
Right.
And think
Right.
about,
No
not
feasts.
to try and say that the church is corrupt and they're turned it into a business. But gosh, I never knew how much money they draw in on a Sunday until I started going to church and they would announce it.
Yeah.
And that fellowship, there was 3,000 people going there, like 2,500 in 3 services.
Right.
And it's like, I was like,
Our church
you gotta be kidding me.
We just got a letter in the mail from our church that said they're doing this big remodel, because they bought the old YWCA, on Wells Street. It's these old, really beautiful historic buildings that they had to remodel, and now they're trying to build a new sanctuary in what used to be the Olympic-sized swimming pool that they've filled in, and now they're, it's going to be the sanctuary.
I see.
And they've raised, I think, nearly $4 million towards that project, but they still have another 3 or 4 to go. So talk about a business. Yeah, that's just their remodel budget, $7 or $8 million for this phase of the remodel, which they've already remodeled so much. So yeah, there's a lot of money coming in, going out.
And I got nothing against that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want to go there and give the money and all of that, and that's fine. But if it's stated that the tithe goes away downstream of Jesus' return, it's important to know which side you're on of that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just one thing.
I always think about the similarities with all the cults, and whether it be Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, any crazy cult, even Charles Manson. He had all his groupies back in the, when was that? It's before I was born, 70s, 60s,
somewhere in the 60s, I believe.
And I was just listening to a documentary about him the other day. He made them all move out into Death Valley, and he said that the world was going to end, and they were going to hide in these secret, the earth was going to open up, and there were going to be secret places with milk and honey flowing and all these beautiful trees and stuff under Death Valley. The end was coming, and they had to be there because they were going to be the only ones that would survive. And I'm like, it feels like Christianity has really embraced that. The end is coming.
Right.
You better make sure you get the rapture. If you don't believe what we're telling you to believe and toe the line and do what we say and be part of our club and believe X, Y, and Z, whatever our denomination says, you might miss it.
Yeah.
It's this fear that they use to control people.
Yes.
Yeah, money and also just fear.
That's another one. You're right.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you make it to the end of your life, meaning an old person, and you're like, well, I should start cleaning up my life now.
Yeah.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And it's time to line up with heaven. I want to go to the good one. I made it this far. They throw this in there, and it's any age, the rapture.
Yeah.
You better have it together.
Right.
You know what I mean? And whoosh,
Right.
So
did you realize
scary to
that the rapture, when did you realize the rapture wasn't biblical? This idea of Christians getting sucked off the planet and everyone else left behind to face the apocalypse.
I think it didn't really I didn't really write it fully off until the preterism thing. I wasn't going to write it off.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, what is this?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense.
Right.
Someone's not interpreting this correctly, or what is this? You see what I mean? I didn't want to say, this was added or anything of that nature. Because I don't think it was added, right? It's just been interpreted wrong.
Right, exactly.
The harpazo.
I mean, the word rapture isn't in the Bible, but they misinterpret and they build a concept around it,
Sure. And so, I was just not really, I remember I had friends, at least one friend I would talk to about this a lot, and they would always talk about the rapture, and I would never really comment on it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say anything like I don't believe that or try to help.
This was before you found out about preterism. Yeah.
But it still just wasn't like, I was thinking.
You weren't sure,
Yeah, okay, so if there's, the other thing, you're trying to picture this cataclysmic time at the end where everything's fire and burning and everything, and it's like, and you go driving out into the country and you see all the people are all spread out. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's possible.
Right.
Everybody's getting attacked.
Right.
Everyone's going to have this end.
I like when they say there's like 200 million.
Oh, yeah.
From Revelation, they're like, there's 200 million mounted troops. Like, that means 200 million horses.
Right.
So Darrin knows because he helps me take care of them when I'm on vacation, but we have 3 horses. It's hard to take care of 3 horses, let alone 200 million. And there aren't even, like, I don't even know if there's 1 million horses on planet Earth right now. Like, there's not that many horses. So 200 million mounted troops. So, wow. Think of the amount of hay that you would need to feed 200 million horses. I mean, that's just crazy.
I think Rob Skiba was the one that pointed that out. There's not that many horses alive.
Yeah.
200 million.
Not even close. Not even close. So that'd be a lot of manure too. Can you imagine?
Feeding them and then feeding 200 million people.
Right.
They're all going to be attacking. What is it, Israel?
I guess that's what they say. We're supposed to round up all the Jews. We're supposed to love them. They're the apple of God's eye, right? They're God's chosen people. But then we have to get them all back into the promised land so we can annihilate them.
What's interesting now is Trump has, stopped the fight between basically the Jews and the Arabs.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch.
I think so. That's what they're saying. Trump has peace. Remember this.
Okay.
What happens when the end time comes? Right before end times? Peace and security for Israel.
Yeah, that's what people think.
The
Antichrist is promising peace.
And he's the last Trump, too.
But he's also the last Trump. So he's either the Antichrist or Jesus.
Right.
One of the two.
But they're taking that information and twisting it all up, and all the normies are out there going, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I wonder if tithing is up during times like this. People are like,
probably not. You
haven't
probably have
been
to double
tithing.
it. Probably have to double it.
Yeah, maybe. Huh.
So were you surprised when you talked to people about the fact that Jesus already returned and that it involved the destruction of Jerusalem and the Old Covenant? When you presented them with that and they got angry, did that surprise you?
Yeah. At first, yeah.
Because you were expecting them to take it in like you did, just like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
Right. Like they've been trying to figure it out all along too, when they haven't.
But do you think that the people that get angry, maybe they've been raised in it their whole life? Like, is that what it is? Or what makes one person accept it and another person get angry about even that someone would even mention that it's possible?
It has to, I don't know. If I was to guess, I'd say it's something to do with the way your mind was programmed. And this is what was embedded into you.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Do you know how a normal Protestant, non-preterist, will look at a Catholic, and the Catholic just can't see through the Catholic way. That we would think, don't pray to Mary, and that there is no purgatory. These would be the arguments against Catholicism, right? Okay. So then we're going to look at them and say, they're too proud. You see what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing, you know, where, you know what I mean? Some of those people are going to feel just as duped as the Catholics would feel. Like, all along I've been doing this, and then you can tell them, dude, you don't even have to tithe.
Yeah.
And they think, I just wasted all that money.
Yeah.
I'd rather just go through with pretending that it's still this
that
way.
It's real than have to.
To own up to, so maybe it's their ego steps in and like, dude, don't own up to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
You've already given like $200,000 away.
Wow. That's true. I never thought about that.
Over all the years.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a guess.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's how I kind of always looked at like a Catholic. Can you imagine? I mean, it's real strict with them, with the tithing. I mean, I think it's like, you have to pay it or something.
Yeah, like the Mormons, they bring them in every year and go through their taxes and make sure like you bring in like all the stuff you gave to the IRS and you have to prove to them. I think they have to pay 10% and that's like, gross or whatever, it's like everything. Like,
they're worse than the IRS.
Oh yeah. So.
I think that might be the reason, that people are so mad.
Yeah.
Because think about it. You're telling them the secret. Hey, and then they're going, I don't want to believe that.
Well, let me ask you this. How has it changed your perspective on things, or has it, if it has?
Oh, yeah, it's changed it. So I kind of, it seems like, well, it's already happened.
Yeah.
We're downstream of it.
Right.
This is the one thing that I've noticed, and I've watched a gazillion preterist videos.
Okay.
The ones that we've all seen,
Yeah.
that you've told me about, David Curtis and all of them. And I really like David Curtis a lot. He really just explains it well for me, and all the other ones too. But in all of them, it's like, what do you do now?
Yeah.
It's like, no one really has the answer.
Right.
But what is it you're supposed to do? We're into this new system.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
So are you still struggling to figure that out, or?
Well, I mean, for me, it's just I'm just trying to, not really. It's more like I'm just free of it.
I know, that's exactly how I feel. I just feel free. Like,
that's
do
over.
whatever. God wants us to love God and love others.
Yeah.
And I don't have to tell you how you should do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to tell me how I should do it. But I know in my own life, here's the people God's placed in my life that I should be loving.
Right.
And serving. And I feel like I enjoy the world more because I don't look at it as this corrupt thing. Like the way I was raised, I don't know, like if you ever had this philosophy that not only are we corrupt, like we're just so evil and our bodies are corrupt, like, that's why they're dying is because of our sin, like everything's screwed up. Not only that, the animals are screwed up, the plants, the planet is all screwed up, and we have to wait for Jesus to come back and to fix it.
Burn it.
Burn it and make a whole new one.
You're right.
That's gonna be right, because it's all wrong.
You're right.
So it's like, I didn't really appreciate all the beauty of the world because I was looking at it through these lenses that said it's corrupt, it's screwed up, it's decaying, it's dying.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, this is how God created it. And even like, we have that tree that's in front of my kitchen window and it's fall now, so it's bright yellow and it's just like so beautiful. And I just think, wow, like it is so amazing how God designed it. It's working just like it's supposed to work. It's not screwed up.
Right.
No,
it's not. It is freeing.
And I feel like our life isn't totally screwed up. Our bodies aren't like, yeah, I know that we all get sick and die, but it's like God wants us here right now. I guess that's the difference. I used to think like, this is not my home, and it's almost like my whole life is an accident. I'm just waiting to get out of here.
Sure.
But I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yep.
I just need to make the best of it, and I'm allowed to enjoy it. I don't have to look at it all the time as like, everything's evil, I'm evil, everything's corrupt, I don't know, I just feel a lot more positive about things.
Yeah. And when they say thy kingdom come, thy will be done,
Right.
You're supposed to be like that. They say that's supposed to be encouraging the end.
Right.
The kingdom to come.
Yeah.
Which means the end to come, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to be encouraged to believe.
Right.
Hoping for. Now you don't hope for that. right?
Well, it's here.
Yeah,
the
it's
kingdom's
over.
here. You know, I
It's
don't have to
over.
like wonder like what is taking him so long to bring his kingdom.
Yeah.
You know, so Well, this was interesting.
Yeah.
So we should do it again sometime. I feel like you have a lot more.
Sure.
And maybe your wife. You think maybe someday she would want to talk. She has had an interesting experience with faith, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't want to talk about it, but
She might.
what are you doing now as far as like you don't go to church? You don't think you have to participate in? I'm kind of calling it institutionalized religion, which I think is a good name for it. It sounds kind of derogatory, but kind of is. You know, I think we've made religion, faith, institutional now. But you have a totally different take.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like to go around those people. When I say those people, I mean people that don't believe what side of the line we're on.
Okay.
You know, they're still on Jesus' coming side. How do you interact with these people?
Right.
That's what's the church is full of those people. So you've got to go in there and pretend or lower yourself to a level that is down where they are.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel like that's what God wanted us to do. You know, lower ourselves down and pretend something we don't believe.
Right.
And so it's kind of that whole, then it goes back to, well, you know, a high 90 percentile of those people will get upset if you bring it up.
Yeah.
So that, you see what I mean? Everywhere you know, each angle you look at it from, it's like, why would I even put any of my energy into that?
Right.
Because just in my daily walk, God can put all the people He wants in my life.
Exactly.
The ones that want to hear it.
Right.
And you just have to keep your ears open to see which ones they are, so you're not in Target bringing it up to the wrong guy.
Isn't it so ironic how I feel really like the one place where we can't talk about faith and the Bible, really talk deeply about it, is in an institutional church.
Sure.
Well, I wasn't even going to say this, but I'll talk about it in a different video maybe, but we got an email from a pastor recently who basically, Bing had asked a couple questions about his sermon, you know, just like very nicely. And he said, the response was basically, well, it would take too long of an email for me to respond to these questions, and I don't really think it would help to meet in person. So basically, I just don't want to talk to you. But then the next week in the bulletin, it was listing the characteristics of the church and what they believe. And like number 2 was that you should be talking and sharing with other people about what you're learning from Scripture. So I thought, well, that's really funny. Somebody needs to tell this to the pastor. He hasn't read the bulletin.
Right, highlight it and send it back.
He doesn't want to talk to us. But
you just don't get anywhere with those people.
Yeah.
In a kind of sort of way, these people are the sheeple. You know, the term that they would use, that they're following.
Right.
You know, and the Christians would always, the ones that believe the end times is coming, and say, all these people are just the sheeple, when they're really the sheeple.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I definitely think that. I mean, that's why my channel's called Heretic Chit Chat, because they're like, oh, you know, people like us are just heretics. We're going to hell. We're so deluded. We're blind.
Yes.
You know, I guess we would look at them and think they're the ones that are blind. So, but I don't know. I think when I think of church now, I just think of them as like little clubs. You know, I'm not necessarily against it. You can join any kind of club you want, but I'm against the idea of thinking you have to do that to be a true follower of Christ, you know, and that's going to be the most effective place for you to really live out your faith. Faith is inside the walls of this like little institution, because that's not real life. That's just the institution, you know. So, but
yeah, most of the Christian people don't get along either. You ever notice?
Right, that's why we have so many denominations.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to, you know, break off into their own little club. That's honestly what I think the Catholics have right, is they don't, from my perspective, and maybe I'm wrong, they don't really care about what they believe so much. I mean, if you talk to Catholics, a lot of them don't even believe half of the stuff that their church says.
Right.
But they just want to be part of the club.
Sure.
You know, that's where they got their friends. They have like parties and bingo and all. You know what I mean?
Fish fries.
Yeah, fish fries.
They look like they have a good time.
And I think there's something to that. Is like we are social people that are meant to interact, and like we should be able to do that without having to agree with someone on every single little thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we should be able to let people talk and say their opinions without like getting angry at them.
Yeah.
So
I heard that quote, Christians were the only group that assembles their firing squad in a circle. That's what it is. It's like, you're wrong, I'm the one that's right. That's how the whole group is.
Right.
From one to another.
Right.
One Baptist and you know.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. So I think
you can see why we get a bad name.
Sure.
You know, Christians. But
and you know, here's another one. It's like, I wonder this, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but the Jesus came, you know, paid the price for everyone's sins, you know, and went through all the sacrifice, returned. The whole return is over.
Right.
So now are the people, meaning us, are we sinners? Are we still a sinner after all of that?
I don't think we are before God. No, I mean, if we're clothed in His righteousness, which He says we are, we're not sinners.
That was another thing that was kind of like I wonder how this lines up, because after all that, if you're still a sinner, what was all that worth? Coming to do all that,
right?
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we're all still sinners. So I wonder where we stand on that side of it. Since we're downstream, have you ever heard? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking more or less. Are we still sinners?
Well, I think the idea of sin, like
we need God's...
this might be, I don't want to get like above my level of expertise, but sin really is an archery term. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
So it's like you missed the mark. You know what I mean? So I think when we think about sin, we always think about like it's this thing I do all the time. You know, like I lie, cheat, steal, whatever. But and in a sense it is that, but it's also like missing perfection. And I think of it as like what Jesus did for us. When we accept that, He straightens all our arrows. They're all hitting the mark, you know.
Right now.
He's correcting. Yeah, right. So we go on shooting our arrow. We can shoot our arrows the wrong way, but He's
correcting it.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it.
I wonder how, you know, how is a preterist to look at it as opposed to a non-preterist, a futurist? Because they're going to be like, I'm a wicked sinner. I don't even deserve anything.
Well, I feel like it's so inconsistent. It's like, on one level, they'll say, like, we've been forgiven, you know, and we like, our sins are forgiven. They say that. But then, on the other hand, they're still waiting for Jesus to come back to make everything right again. You know, I feel like it's just like, it's really inconsistent, because if Jesus conquered death, you know, like it says the sting of death is sin, right?
Yeah.
So sin and death are like tied together, and they're always saying He conquered death. Well, then did He conquer sin? And if so if sin is conquered, which is what they're always telling us, like we're forgiven, then why are we still waiting for Him to come and cure our bodies of this physical death? You know, I never understood, like, it seemed to me that back before I was a preterist and I would think about it, I'm like, why, when Jesus resurrected, He conquered death? Why are people still dying? Because that's when He, like, remember, He rose up out of the grave.
Right.
Like, what's been going on for 2,000 years? How long does it take for Him to, like, really conquer death for the rest of us?
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're supposed to be able to do whatever.
But then they'll I talked about this before, but we sing songs at church every week about how, like, death has been defeated. You know, like, I was dead, now I'm alive. You know? Well, it's like, they don't actually believe that. They're waiting for Jesus to come back and resurrect them. They don't believe they've crossed from death to life now. But, so it's, I don't know, I just feel like it's inconsistent.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know if we'd ever talked about that. I just wondered, you know, how that fits into it, you know?
I mean, there's definitely some, like, struggle, tension between, can you just go and do whatever you want now? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And be a complete sinner. Like, live your life in debauchery and selfishness. And I don't think that's the case, because then you wouldn't be, it says he writes the law on our heart now. Mm-hmm. So it's not about the 10 Commandments anymore. It's about like the law in your heart, your conscience. And he tells us that's summed up in loving God, loving others, Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Yeah. I wasn't sure. I thought I'd ask you. You know what I mean? I feel like
I'm not really an expert either.
Jesus is going to pay the price. You die, stand mm-hmm. before God. He's mm-hmm. got you covered. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's still in place.
Yeah.
Even downstream of preterism.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Sure.
I think so. Yeah.
And the reason that he came was what, though?
The reason that he came?
Yeah, to pay for the sins.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as we broke it.
So he paid.
He's got to fix it.
Right.
And we couldn't fix it ourselves because we keep screwing up,
Yeah.
None of us make the right choice all the time.
Right.
So he did.
And so, yeah. He's just there. And it's still all in place. You die.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at preterism and think we just think it's all over, there's nothing left, but every single one of us that is born, remember it says in Isaiah when it's talking about, it says, it's talking about Emmanuel and his name will be Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. In that same passage it says, the increase of his government, there will be no end. The increase of his government. I think what happened in 78 AD is he established his kingdom, mm-hmm. right? But people keep coming into it. It grows and grows and grows mm-hmm. as people are being born and being reconciled to God. Like, it's never, ever going to stop. It just continues forever. Right. So just because he paid for it back then, like, the cool thing is it paid for all the people that died before him, and it paid for all the people that live after him,
Sure.
Yeah. It's not like it doesn't apply to us now.
It's the same. Nothing's changed.
Well, what's changed is that we aren't living under the old covenant anymore. We aren't trying to do it ourselves.
Right.
So that's why I think we feel so free now, is because it's a whole new way.
And we don't have to kill anything.
Yeah. Can you imagine having to
kill something?
Well, you have your dog. I mean, can you imagine
No.
if you had to be bringing these bloody sacrifices to the temple all the time? I mean, I don't know. It's just a whole different, like, we talk about it and we say it, we read our Bible, but I don't think we really understand what it was like to live under that system. So.
Right. No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
You can't imagine.
Yeah.
And they ate the food, obviously. They ate the sacrifice. They drain the blood off, right? In the special drain. Mm-hmm. And then they eat. Everyone eats from the...
Right.
So there's enough food to go around because every family had to bring one, right? Is that how?
Mm-hmm. The priests got their portion. I think they weren't supposed to eat the fat, right?
Probably not.
I heard that.
Yeah. Huh. That's a lot of, I think it was David Curtis. I think he was the one talking about it, about how many people it took to do that. Slaughtered. All those priests.
Yeah.
A ton of them.
Yeah. Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And their clothes would get ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine? Just standing in line, like at a farm.
Yeah.
Walking an animal up there.
Well, the part that got me was, didn't it say that they, they had to bring the animal into their home for like 3 or 4 days before they killed it. Uh-huh. They brought it in and it was like this period of inspecting it to make sure that it was perfect, because it had to be perfect. And remember, when they say that when Jesus entered on Palm Sunday, he comes in and he's riding the donkey, right? And then he goes to the temple, and he was there for like 3 or 4 days. That was the same time that the lamb was in the temple being inspected by the high priest, the Passover lamb. Because everybody had their family Passover lamb, but I think there was a special one that the priests went out and got the Passover lamb, you know, and they carried it in. So it's like, you can imagine in Jerusalem, on one road, Jesus is coming in on this donkey.
Yeah.
And on the other road, the high priest is coming in with his lamb. and they both end up at the temple for 3 or 4 days. You know, Jesus is being questioned by the Pharisees and the scribes, and they're inspecting him, and he's showing them that he's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and then they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Yeah, there's so much. Don't you feel like the Bible has come alive now? It's not like, you know, it's not like because it's all happened, then there's no point in reading the Bible anymore.
Right.
Like, I feel like it just makes it make so much sense, and I want to read it more now.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like more applicable than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It really does. You're right. A whole bunch of stuff connects.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll just be driving and something will connect.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that?
Oh, all the time.
It's incredible because.
It seems like I'll never exhaust all the ways that all the typology in the Old Testament and how, you know, it's like being played out, culminating in the New Testament, but how you like saw all these little shadows of it in the Old Testament, you know?
Yeah.
So like the life of Joseph and all, you know,
Mm-hmm.
every single story in the Old Testament, now I can almost see it replaying in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Incredible.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you doing this, and I'm
Thanks
sure
for having me.
everybody.
Never been interviewed before.
Oh, you're natural.
Thank you. Yeah. We can do another one if you want some other
Yeah.
time if you're interested.
That'd be great.
So.
He's got all kinds of things he can talk about.
Sure. Yeah. I can keep going. So,
Okay. See ya.
uh-huh.